Yeah, so I went back on Facebook into the filmmaking groups and found a couple things that I feel like I want to read. So let's do that. So this one's crazy. I'll read it, but basically one of their actors passed before they were done recording, and now they're stuck. So here we go. Calling all filmmakers. Delicate issue, working on a feature film, and an actor passed away sadly. Their death happened during our post-production while we were doing voiceovers. I have only some of their voiceovers, but I'm missing another 10 voiceover tracks. Have any filmmakers encountered this delicate situation? Has anyone worked with a program to replicate voice of an actor? Any help, support during this difficult time would be appreciated. Before I go into the comments, I just want to, because I do have an answer for this, because this has not happened to me, but I've seen it happen. It's what your contract is. If your contract with your talent says, if it's got wording in there that they pass and you can't use their stuff, then there you go. Most of the time it's not in there, but you do have to go back to the contract because they still, their credits are in there. Like, it depends on the contract. I'm assuming this person doesn't have a contract with this actor, unfortunately, but the first thing is you got to get a contract, and you kind of got to figure that kind of stuff out, at least for just credit reasons. Short of the contract thing, there's a very famous situation where this happened, and it was the movie Shrek. Chris Farley had done a bunch of the recordings for his Shrek character, and then he OD'd and passed, and they decided to start over. I don't know what their thought process was, other than to say it must have been easier to hire Mike Myers and re-record all of it than try to do with what they have. But yeah, so I think that's the one that I think of the most. There's obviously different movies where actors have passed and they've had to cut around it, or in the case of like Princess Leia, they digitally redid her, but they're talking about voiceover stuff. Honestly, I would just hire another voice actor and re-record all the voiceovers, because a lot of movies do that anyway. A lot of times, especially prior to, the digital side of it, a lot of times just the recordings on set sucked, and so they would have to re-record everything anyway. It's the thing that's happened. So, my advice is, what does the contract say? If there is no contract, or if the contract is really vague, probably re-record the voice and credit the actor as an actor, and then credit the voice actor as voice of, or something like that. I wouldn't do what I've already peeped at the comments and see what they suggested, which is hire AI. I have also seen situations where there's been just a couple voice tracks that need to be redone, and the actor's not available, or the actor passed or something, and you can get a good impersonator to get close enough for a few lines, but if you do it for the whole thing, it's going to be really obvious. So definitely don't do that. Okay, so let's get into the comments, because I'm going to hate it, but it is what it is. First person says, I would suggest finding someone who can voice match or replicate the performance. Avoid generative AI at all costs, out of respect for the late actor and for us performers collectively. Yes, I agree. Again, it really depends on how much of, they're saying 10 tracks. Is that 10 takes or 10 minutes of footage? I don't know what that means, but you can find a person to replicate it. But honestly, I still believe, just for the sake of it, since it's a feature film, you're probably better off just hiring an actor to re-record all of it. And it is what it is, the only time where that's going to be really awful, technically, is if a lot of the audio tracks are actually in the shot, like wild in the shot, boom mic kind of stuff, and so you're getting overlapping dialogue and you're getting people talking over each other. That's really hard to parse out. But if it's a situation where you're just using you're throwing away those takes anyway for bad audio, or you're separating the actors enough in their audio that they're not talking over each other there so much, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Yeah. Anyway, next up, person says, I've seen news reports of AI mimicking people's voices. May be useful. With family's permission, of course, my condolences. Ugh. I mean, I appreciate the family's permission thing, but the AI mimic, like this person is literally talking about the problem, which is now AI is just deep faking everybody because they're mimicking people's voice. It's pretty messed up. Next person says, I'll suggest AI, but it doesn't give a full authentic feel. There are several ones that I think would work. You need to keep the previous samples of the previous voice, but you can hire a voiceover artist who can probably match. I'd be happy to recommend you one. So this person's saying two things. They're saying you could do AI, but you're going to have working audio tracks ahead of time, or hire an AI artist, or hire an artist that's not doing AI. I mean, obviously, you know where my mind is. Next person says, don't use AI. Next person says, I'm in. So I guess that means they're a voice artist. Next person says, does the actor have an agent? Are they SAG-AFTRA? They're sort of implying the contracts of it all. I know SAG has really specific rules about this kind of stuff. I'd have to look them up. It's not my specialty because you don't come across it that much, or I don't at least. Next person says, oh, that's so sad. Answering your question, if using AI to replicate their voice seems too unethical for you, that does for me. The next option is calling a voice stunt double. I have heard about that job in Hollywood during the post-production process. I mean, it's not a voice stunt double. It's just another voice in actor. Sure. Okay. Next person says, if you have a clip with their voice and you don't mind sharing it on here, I'm sure you could find someone to match their tone and do the lines. Okay. So I appreciate that they're saying, you know, find somebody to fix the broken lines. Next person says, skip AI, use an actor. It's a better way to honor them than to try and replicate their voice with AI. Yeah, it's really gross. Every time there's another story about a public figure who gets AI replicated, just as a stunt, I think the big one that I think of is the Tupac concert. It's like, even if you could do it, even if you could get it cleared and not be legally unlawful, you think Tupac would have wanted that? We're not here to ask him, so I don't think that's fair to assume he would have said yes. That's all I'm saying. Next person says, use 11 Labs. It can replicate the actor's voice, and you can't even tell. All you need is about a minute worth of the voice to train the AI. I've done it before, and it's great. Not a fan. And the next person says, 11 Labs is already obsolete. Look up Minimax voice clone. It's worlds better. There might be some ethical questions here, like others suggested. I only use voice clone when the actor agreed to it. Maybe recast. I don't know. Just be careful. I appreciate that everybody's trying to be respectful. I'd be interested if the person hadn't passed and if the person was just not available for re-records, that people would be so delicate about being respectful about their credit and their work. I hope they would be, but yeah. So in conclusion, you're in post-production. You need a lot more dialogue from the actor. The actor becomes unavailable permanently. And what do you do? Yeah, again, if it's a couple things, my thought would be find somebody who can get it close enough that it's not distracting, and just put them, especially if it's not whole sentences, and have them record it and just put it in and see if you can get it close enough to match. Short of that, hire a voice actor. You'd be shocked as to how many movies the voice actor sounds nothing like the actor on screen, and a lot of times you don't notice. So in this case, I feel like that's probably the move. And the other suggestion was AI, and I think that's a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad idea. And I've done a lot of content on my channel about how much I despise AI in pretty much every generative form. And yikes. So good luck to them. That's really dark. That's really tragic. It's the nature of things. It's the thing that happens. Sometimes you lose actors' availabilities, and sometimes that literally means they are no longer on this mortal plane. So that's it. All right. Like, share, subscribe, that kind of thing, if you're into it.